Hey, what's up guys? Mikey here. Anniversaries are a beautiful thing, aren't they? Being a celebration of a year or month or something like that since a significant event occurred, and the fact that another year has been another whole trip around the sun, it's lovely. It's too bad most anniversaries aren't without problems though. Something you can't look online without seeing these days is some kind of month or year anniversary acknowledging something. Most of the time it's a insert number here, year anniversary, especially when it comes to weddings or the launch of a specific TV show or video game system. SpongeBob is no exception. I used to go on Twitter during my college years and tweet about SpongeBob's anniversary every year on May 1st. I don't do that anymore because I don't change the world by doing that, and I don't feel like coming up with something creative to say to post on the hell version of Facebook. But with 2024 being the 25th anniversary of the show, I decided to take a look back at the history of how Nickelodeon celebrated their most popular property and what was actually good, bad, or disgraceful. And I'll mostly be looking back at what Nickelodeon themselves have done, like any marathon of a bunch of SpongeBob episodes or notable real-life promotions. I'll mention anything that was supposed to celebrate the show but was cut, and I'll only be covering the 5-year, 10, 15, 20, and 25-year anniversaries, since that feels way more appropriate than doing it every single year, and it just makes the most sense that way. And anything that occurred in other countries, I won't mention because it doesn't feel entirely necessary, and some significant SpongeBob events in other countries have occurred when it wasn't a landmark year in SpongeBob's history. So without further ado, let's find out how much Nickelodeon doesn't want to not celebrate pants that are square and a sponge that is Bob. Well, starting in 2004, 5 years after the show started, there wasn't any actual celebration for the show. At that time, there was a much better variety of good Nickelodeon shows, both live action and animation. And while the show was popular, it didn't become all that Nickelodeon gives a shit about. There were only a few episodes that premiered that year, as Season 3 was intended to be the final season of the show, and ending the whole franchise with the SpongeBob SquarePants movie in November of that year. But since that movie was so popular, the show was kept alive for another 20 plus years beyond that. So while there wasn't an actual direct celebration for 5 years into the show's run, the SpongeBob SquarePants movie can indirectly count as a celebration for that milestone. But without that movie, there were only 7 individual episodes that premiered that whole year, so we can really see how much Nickelodeon's priorities have changed. What does this mean? Let's fast forward to 2009, the 10-year anniversary of the series. For me, this was when it truly set in how popular SpongeBob truly was at that time. We of course had standard premieres of new episodes at random months throughout the year, but in June 2009, Nickelodeon started advertising a huge SpongeBob marathon to celebrate the show's history. This would be the ultimate SpongeBob Sponge Bash, a 50-hour long TV marathon to celebrate 10 years of the show. And this brought to attention to me how popular the show really was. I've talked about this marathon at length before, so I'll make this one very brief. At the time the marathon started, the show was in Season 6, but there was one episode of Season 5 that had yet to air on TV, that being episode 179, Goo Goo Gas. On July 17, 2009, this marathon started off with a premiere of a new episode, episode 227, To SquarePants or Not to SquarePants from Season 6. They aired the first episode of the series right after the aforementioned, and then SpongeBob aired non-stop all night. The next morning, they premiered episode 242, Chunk Caverns from Season 6, and then had the top fan-favorite episodes as voted online by fans. Later that night, the SpongeBob SquarePants movie aired on TV for the first time. The next morning, they had a special advance screening of one of the new episodes later that night. Episode 245, I Heart Dancing from Season 7, followed by 10 celebrity favorites, with most of those celebrities being some of the biggest Nickelodeon stars at the time, like Nathan Kress and Jerry Trainer from iCarly. The whole marathon led up to 10 all-new episodes later that night, with the first of those 10 being Goo Goo Gas to finish off Season 5, and we got more episodes from Season 6, and 6 episodes to start off Season 7, with one of those being I Heart Dancing that aired earlier as a special advance screening. To me, This was the peak of SpongeBob's popularity. The quality of the episodes themselves were starting to go downhill for sure, but there were still some actual good episodes sprinkled in here and there. And it was before 2010, which gave us a lot of bad episodes. But that's not what we're going to get into. Later that year, there was a special DVD released, the first 100 episodes, which consisted of every episode from seasons 1 through 5. I'm not sure if it was actually planned for this year or if it happened to work out. But either way, it was a lovely release. There's a disc with only bonus features on it, and I was able to get a copy with this really cool collector's case, and I've held on to it ever since. Nowadays, I've only seen this reprint in stores, which is nowhere near as cool looking as the original, so who knows how rare the original print is now. The cast also did a live table read of episode 217, SpongeBob SquarePants vs. the Big One from season 6, at the 2009 Sundance Film Festival, which was a first for SpongeBob. There was also a documentary called Square Roots, the story of SpongeBob SquarePants, which talked about the creation of the show, all the biggest behind the scenes events, and the impact it had on society up to that point, featuring some original crew members, the voice cast, and the original creator Steven Hillenburg. And this documentary was also included on the first 100 episodes DVD as a bonus feature. On November 6, 2009, there was a TV movie to celebrate the show's 10th anniversary, and it was actually acknowledged as an anniversary special. That being episode 240, Truth or Square from season 6. The movie had Patchy the Pirate throwing a TV special to celebrate SpongeBob's 10th anniversary.
You talent! Hugh, what does that mean?
And tried to get some celebrity guests on the show, including Tina Fey, Robin Williams, LeBron James, Will Ferrell, and Pink, just to name a few.
I'm gonna go get some more celebrities, okay?
More?
Then he tries to get SpongeBob himself for the show, but ends up swallowed by a whale. The SpongeBob portion of the episode was about the Krusty Krab's 117th anniversary, but SpongeBob, Patrick Stewart, and Mr. Krabs get trapped in the freezer and have to find their way out, and share some flashbacks along the way. The episode had mixed reviews at the time, and still to this day. But you can't deny that they did care here to an extent and wanted to do something significant to celebrate this little sponge, because in 1999, nobody expected the show to be around 10 years. We'll get to that. But I always thought this was neat because there were a lot of different art styles throughout and thought that they at least kinda cared. They must have cared about the Patchy segments more than the SpongeBob segments, but still. I have a soft spot for this episode, even though it's not the best. But for an anniversary special, it could be worse. I said we'll get to that. But before we do, let's talk about 2014, the 15-year milestone of the show. Yeah, 2014 was a very barren year for anything SpongeBob. The show was in season 9, and literally only 2 episodes aired that whole year. Episodes 353, It Came from Goo Lagoon, and 358, Kenny the Cat. And at this point, there were no other good shows on Nickelodeon. The last good live-action shows ended in 2013. The Fairly OddParents were in season 9, and that was bad. So what were Nickelodeon fans supposed to eat that year? Or any year after 2013? Now at this point, the show was on hiatus because the SpongeBob movie Sponge Out of Water was in development, and the show crew went to work on the film, and when it wrapped, they went back to work on the show. Sponge Out of Water was supposed to release in November 2014, roughly 10 years after the first movie, but it got delayed by 3 months to February 6, 2015. And that was for the better because that movie helped bring new life to the show at the time. But in terms of the 50th anniversary of the series itself, nothing. I don't remember seeing SpongeBob in any kind of media, aside from a music video that was on Teen Nick that year that featured SpongeBob's iconic line as part of the song. Episode 359, Yeti Crabs from season 9, was supposed to air in November 2014, but they delayed it until March 29, 2015, exactly 1 year after Kenny the Cat. I get it was to make sure there was still at least one episode of the show to release in 2015 to hold fans over after the movie until they had more episodes ready to air. And I get that it made sense at the time, and I can still understand that nowadays, but at the time, I wanted to see Kenny the Cat again, and I couldn't see it properly until Yeti Crabs aired. And not only that, but the next new episode after Yeti Crabs aired in July 2015 and started a new era for the show to an extent. So was it really that necessary to make us wait a whole year for a single new 11-minute episode? At least with Yeti Crabs airing in November 2014, the gap wouldn't have been a whole year long. So yeah, 2014 was a pretty nothing year for SpongeBob fans. But considering the events we're about to get into, I think some of those might actually be worse than what happened in 2014. Fast forward to 2019, the 20th anniversary of the show, what was advertised as the best year ever. Well, okay, so no matter what happened this year, it would be at the very least bittersweet because SpongeBob's creator Steven Hillenburg passed away on November 26, 2018 after battling ALS, which he had been diagnosed with in March of 2017. Because of his passing, there were a lot of attempts to get Sweet Victory to play at Super Bowl 53 that year, because that song played at episode 70, Band Geeks from season 2, and that is widely considered the best episode of the whole series, which would have been the best tribute to the man you can imagine. So much hype was built up, and I even watched the Super Bowl to see if it would happen. And while it started up with some hope, another artist ruined that tribute with one of his songs that I didn't even like, and all my aforementioned hopes died in a plane crash. As well as my dreams. In 2019, the show was in season 12. We still got standard new episodes that year, but starting in the summer, any new episodes coming out were being advertised as celebrating the best year ever. We got some solid episodes this year like episode 479, Karen's Baby, but also some stinkers like episode 465, The Ballad of Filthy Muck. We did get another anniversary special, episode 486, SpongeBob's Big Birthday Blowout from season 12, which featured SpongeBob and Patrick going on a tour of Surface Land while the others decorate SpongeBob's house for a surprise party. Patchy appears in this episode and tries to get a birthday present to SpongeBob, which was his head and a nice birthday wish. It was received with positive reviews from fans and critics and resulted in the show getting picked up for a season 13. Back in 2016, there was a SpongeBob musical that debuted in Chicago, Illinois. It later came to Broadway in late 2017, early 2018, and officially premiered on Nickelodeon for the first time on December 7, 2019. The musical, while not canon to the regular show, was considered very good by a lot of fans, myself included, so it makes sense to air it on TV during this anniversary. We also got a few standalone specials separate from the main series starting with this year. The first being Patchy's Playlist, which was just about Patchy the Pirate taking a look back at some of the show's best musical moments from throughout its run, featuring a total of 16 songs from throughout the first 8 seasons of the show. The songs being the Jellyfishing song from episode 258, SpongeBob's Last Stand from season 7, He's Flying from episode 115, The Sponge Who Could Fly from season 3, The Fun Song from episode 21, FUN from season 1, Sweet Victory from Band Geeks, of course, Stadium Rave from episode 15, Jellyfish Jam from season 1, The Road Song from episode 305, A SquarePants Family Vacation from season 8, the Texas Song from episode 36, Texas from season 1, the Campfire Song from episode 112, the Camping episode from season 3, I Love Krabby Patties from episode 195, Bandit Bikini Bottom from season 5, the Loop De Loop song from episode 42, Your Shoes Untied from season 2, Ripped Pants from episode 5, Ripped Pants from season 1, Underwater Sun from episode 101, Party Pooper Pants from season 3, I Can't Keep My Eyes Off You from episode 169, To Love a Patty from season 5, of all songs, the Krusty Krab Pizza song from episode 10, Pizza Delivery from season 1, the Striped Sweaters song from episode 93, As Seen on TV from season 3, and Best Day Ever from episode 154, Best Day Ever from season 4. I love the diversity of songs here, with a couple songs being from seasons 5, 7, and 8, which you never see most fans talk about when discussing music from the show. I said most fans. There was also a standalone special that talked about some of the best moments in the show's history, as voted online by fans. This was called SpongeBob Appreciation Day, Patchy's Beach Bash, which had Patchy the Pirate washed up on a beach with some celebrity lookalikes talking about things like the first episode, or the first time SpongeBob failed his boating exam, or SpongeBob's first Krabby Patty. I remember watching both, but I barely remember either.
but at least Beach Bash is included on the Season 12 DVD as a bonus feature, but not Patchy's playlist. There was another big DVD release, the next 100 episodes, which should have featured production episodes 101 to 200, but instead it contained everything from seasons 6 through 9, even though season 9 stopped at number 204. This disappointed me because season 6 had a lot of episodes out of order on the season DVD release, so I was hoping this DVD would fix the episode order. The first 100 episodes fixed the order of the Season 5 episodes because some of them were out of order on the Season 5 DVD, but this one didn't fix Season 6 because it was literally the same Season 6 through 9 discs thrown into a new DVD case. They also released the Best 200 Episodes Ever DVD, which is literally the first and next 100 episodes DVD sets packaged with this cardboard cover, and came with a poster featuring every character from an episode from 1999 to 2019. I do like this poster quite a bit, but that was the only reason I bought this big set otherwise. The SpongeBob movie Sponge on the Run was supposed to end off the festivities that year by releasing in theaters in May 2020, after the show turned 21 and could legally drink. But the movie was pulled from theaters altogether and launched on March 4, 2021, alongside the rebrand of CBS All Access known as Paramount Plus. There was also a marathon on the Nicktoons channel featuring every episode of this show up to that point. It was to last several days until they got through all of them, but it was cancelled when it got to season 8. Because nobody was watching the Nicktoons channel at that point due to that channel being a pay TV channel, and everybody was switching from cable boxes to streaming services. So I don't blame them for canceling the marathon, but it was disappointing. So this anniversary wasn't too bad honestly, but of course, I'm leaving out something else big. Proof that nothing is sacred anymore. In 2019, Brian Robbins, the latest CEO of Nickelodeon, announced SpongeBob spin-offs, and the first one officially confirmed came in June of that year, Camp Coral, which resulted in former showrunner Paul Tibbitt confirming the greedy, lazy sons of bitches that Nickelodeon executives really are. The spin-off wouldn't come out for at least another year or so, but that didn't stop fans from trying to get it cancelled. Well, the 20th anniversary discussion ended on a sour note, so let's start up 2024, the 25th anniversary, with something more positive. Camp Coral ended only after 2 seasons.
That alone was the best thing that happened that year.
But unfortunately, a new SpongeBob spin-off project, a spin-off movie about Sandy Cheeks, Saving Bikini Bottom the Sandy Cheeks movie, released on Netflix.
Believe it or not, that wasn't the worst thing that happened that year, and not just for SpongeBob.
This time, the show was in season 14, and it has its standard anniversary specials, like regular 11-minute episodes, or even a new hour-long TV movie, episode 578, Creepaway Camp. This one being about the gang returning to Camp Coral for a reunion, but they all get kidnapped by somebody in the shadows one by one. Now this is tricky because I honestly think it's a well-written story and doesn't feel absolutely boring like the Camp Coral show. But I still hate the Camp Coral location being brought into the present-day canon of the main show. Some of the normal episodes act as sequels to previous episodes, most notably episode 574, PL 1413, being a sequel to episode 28, SB 129 from season 1, as both involve characters traveling 2,000 years into the future. There are more episodes this season that are allegedly anniversary specials, but I'm not sure if I really consider them anniversary specials at all. Not only does Creepaway Camp bring the Camp Coral setting into the main show, but the Camp Coral animated Sandy appears in PL 1413. All the Camp Coral original characters appear in the show this season in one episode or another. Patrick's parents from the Patrick Star Show appear in episode 581, Sheldon SquarePants, instead of Patrick's actual parents that we saw back in season 2. Is this supposed to be a celebration of the SpongeBob SquarePants series, or the spin-off shows that are making Steven Hillenburg spin in his grave? But let's move away from all this negativity and focus on something different. After 25 years, there was finally a fast food restaurant that made a real-life Krabby Patty. Wendy's made a real-life Krabby Patty as a collaboration with Nickelodeon to celebrate the series. However, this also comes with some negativity.
What doesn't?
According to this article, Steven Hillenburg never did a real-life Krabby Patty with any fast food restaurant because while SpongeBob loves his job as a fry cook, Most people don't love working there, and Hillenburg didn't want to try and promote false advertisement to the show's audience. It is confusing, but this was the reason why a real-life Krabby Patty never existed until 2024. I tried it myself, and it's fine, but it's only advertised as a Krabby Patty because of the secret sauce. Without that, this would just be a normal Wendy's cheeseburger. I'm honestly torn on this idea. As much as I may or may not have been putting words into Hillenburg's mouth when he's not here, I think the spin-offs are objectively bad, and I don't even need to see them to know that fact. And it was more commonly known that Hillenburg didn't want spin-offs compared to a real-life Krabby Patty. This real-life Krabby Patty is fine, but it also took 6 years after Hillenburg's death for this to exist or just get announced, unlike the spin-offs, which were confirmed a measly 3 months after he passed. So that's something. I don't know how he would truly feel about this, but if this article is true, then this is nothing less than a giant rabbit hole of the SpongeBob franchise being milked dry. But let's go back to season 14 for a minute because there's something fascinating to discuss here. After the 300th half hour of the show aired, another compilation DVD was announced, another 100 episodes, which was presumably going to include episodes 205 to 300, which would have been everything from seasons 10 through 13 and a few episodes from season 14. At this time, season 14 was going to have 26 half hours, bringing the total episodes to 319. At this point, another season was renewed. It was also going to have 26 episodes, bringing the total to 345. However, a listing for a complete season 14 DVD started showing up, and it was only going to have 2 discs, and the length was roughly as long as 13 half-hour episodes. And a little later, this was confirmed true. Season 14 was split in half, and it was only going to contain 13 half hours, numbers 294 to 306. The second half of the season was moved to season 15, which was later confirmed to be shortened to 20 half hours, bringing the total number of episodes to 326 instead of 345. And according to the episodes that have aired, season 15 has technically started in 2024. This is very interesting, and it's something that I personally never remember happening with the show prior. I don't know what this means for the future of the show, but I can say that for season 14, this was merely done to put season 14 on the Another 100 Episodes DVD. Because Nickelodeon clearly doesn't want to put effort into making good home media releases anymore. Another 100 Episodes is literally the seasons 10 through 14 discs thrown into this case, just like with the next 100 episodes. They also released the best 300 episodes ever, just like with the 200 episodes back in 2019. That's neat, but I don't plan on buying that for myself. If I receive it as a gift, that's one thing. But at that point, I'm waiting until the show ends and Nickelodeon just releases a complete SpongeBob series DVD.
Hey Nickelodeon, when's that gonna happen? When can I buy a complete SpongeBob series DVD?
Paramount Plus also added the SpongeBob 25 logo to everything SpongeBob related for this year. SpongeBob appeared in various video games in the year, and there's a video game focused on Patrick Star. Comic-Con 2024 had a SpongeBob themed panel that also had augmented reality. All of those are kinda cool. The Kids' Choice Awards were also held in July and broadcasted with a SpongeBob filter on it, and had Tom Kenny and Bill Fagerbakke voicing SpongeBob and Patrick live during that show. That's something neat that hadn't been done before this year, but in reality, who the hell watched this? In the same year, Paramount also broadcasted Super Bowl 58 with a SpongeBob skin over it, and it also had Tom Kenny and Bill Fagerbakke doing live commentary as SpongeBob and Patrick. All that came from it was apparently a huge loss because nobody watched the Super Bowl on Paramount, and everybody who watched the Super Bowl that year watched it for other reasons. Oh, but the Super Bowl also had a CGI music video with Sweet Victory.
Well, that makes up for everything.
Or it would if it wasn't interrupted by football players screaming during the song. Obviously, you got merchandise and special collabs, but those are really minor and aren't worth going in depth on right now. I wanted to focus on the major events from those years, and I can say I did just that. So in conclusion, most SpongeBob anniversaries aren't the best. In my opinion, the 10th anniversary was the best with multiple premieres and special releases, and that massive marathon that occurred that summer. 2004 had the first movie, and nothing happened in 2014. 2019 was very turbulent with Steven Hillenburg not being here to see the 20th anniversary special in person, and 2024 felt more like a celebration of the shamelessness of the current era of the show and the spin-off creations that nobody asked for, rather than focusing on what made the franchise so beloved in the first place. Because say what you will about the real-life Krabby Patty at Wendy's, but it's not brain dead like the Patrick Star Show. Oh right, 2024 also released a 4K Blu-ray release of the SpongeBob SquarePants movie, but I already own that movie on Blu-ray, so whatever.
Well, most SpongeBob anniversaries are kinda controversial. But these days, we can attribute that to the spin-offs. It's like a reboot or revival ruining the legacy of a show or movie you loved from back in the day. A franchise continuing even though it was supposed to stop a while ago, or just a flat-out gunshot to the face. Oh, that's why we're in the bubonic plague these days.